Recorded live.
Well, welcome everybody to the new version of Off-Road Live. This is Monster Mike, your humble host. I'm on individually today because the Baja crew is pre-running the San Felipe 250. We are in the big bad desert today from the Republic of Mexico in San Felipe with Igor K. of Baja Sun Films and Bruce Meyers, the famous Bruce Meyers of the Myers Banks. Welcome to Off-Road Live with our friends
Ram Trucks, Hard Rock, Marlboro, Red Bull, Budweiser, and of course our favorite Baja Racing Hall of Fame.
Well, welcome Igor. How are you?
I'm very good, Mike. Good to hear from you again.
I am live from the Republic of Mexico.
And you sound like you're right next door. Isn't technology?
Isn't that awesome? Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool.
We are in San Felipe, pre-running for the San Felipe 250, and welcome to this special version of Off-Road Live. Let me let you know that we are so excited about today's special show. Igor K. of Baja Sun Films, and later on we're going to have an extra special guest, and that's Bruce Meyers of Myers Banks fame. Well, Igor, why don't we talk about the Saturday 2 weeks ago that we went and celebrated Bruce's 92nd birthday?
Oh, wow. What an occasion. What a time. What a man. The legend. He is such a nice guy. He is such the philosopher. He has so many stories and just an outlook on life that just says fun and excitement, and his car is the perfect representation of that. It was amazing. Not only to talk to him, but you know, his friends, his guests, his people. I'm certainly going to put together a nice little tribute to the man himself. It's
well, I have to tell you, Igor, that day was very special to me. I really had no idea what kind of connection I was going to make that day. But I've got to tell you, there's an absolutely innate attraction to the entire lifestyle that Bruce Meyers is famous for, and I got hooked on Saturday, as well as I had never spoken with or been introduced to Bruce Meyers before, and that day, toward the end of the birthday, he straight up walked up to me and became one of my favorite philosophers in life, and he told me a very important message, and it was almost like an angel had whispered in my ear the important message of that day.
That's Bruce. That's totally Bruce. You know, the first time I met him, I had a very similar experience. I mean, I had heard of him, of course, and, you know, and the legendary car and the buggy. But, you know, you meet him, you talk to him, and the wisdom of the years, of those 92 years, just exudes itself, and you're bathed in this, you know, wisdom of ages, and you instantly feel like, I've known him for forever. This is like my grandpa, my uncle that I've known all my life.
It's almost like that great family member that you've always had around you, or, in my instance, this was one of those family members that you've never had, and he just steps in and fills the void completely. But I've got to tell you, he really does need someone like you, a media guru, to express to the world. Now, the people in the Manx Club, they know Bruce. They know the product. They know the fun. But there's a big world out there that has never heard or experienced the message.
Yeah, and, you know, I got to tell you, Bruce, with great help from his wife, Winnie, they're on it. They're doing it. He is working on his second book, and he still draws and paints and, you know, drives the buggy, and the creative spirit is still alive and well in him. his zest for life is just so evident in anything he talks about that it's contagious. If I had a time machine, if I could go back in time, I got to tell you, that would be it. To be in America in the mid-'60s, just after the the British invasion, when everything exploded musically and artistically and dance and fashion and culture and, of course, the beach.
Igor, you also have the beach vibe. It's so cool. And just to let you know, I think both of you guys, both Igor K. of Baja Sun Films and Bruce Meyers of the Myers-Manx fame, you guys are the time machines. You guys are the magnifying glasses onto the beach culture. And we look forward in this show and in future endeavors to be able to show the public that great beach culture, the activity, the lifestyle that Myers-Manx and also Baja Sun Films is going to be portraying in the very near future.
Baja Racing, I mean, this is pretty much the man who started it all. Him and Ted Mangles and Ed Perlman and Jim Chamberlain. They were the first four guys. They weren't the first to race down in Baja, but they were the first to make it official. They were the first to set a record by beating the motorcycles by, gosh, I don't know how many hours, a lot of hours. I'm sure he'd love to tell you that story. And in fact, do you remember we were at the Mint last week, and who was representing the Myers-Manx there but Jim Chamberlain himself with one of the two original Manxes that did the first Baja runs and set the first records.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, the actual vehicle that finished in first place and set the pace for modern Baja racing.
Honestly, if they didn't do it, I don't know that the sport would have evolved into what it is today.
Well, and I'm sure, Igor, that you've daydreamed about the footage that's still in the vault of these Manx vehicles that you have still that has been unseen for how many years?
Oh, gosh. Are you kidding me? You know what? Since last show, I went and looked at the list of registered drivers in that 69 race. And although, I don't know many of the names, but just looking at the 200 or so entries, how many are listed as either a VW buggy or a Corvair buggy? None of them were listed officially as Manx, but that's what those were, man. And there was God, I mean, I'm looking here, there's at least 24 of them that went out just that year alone. And I know we have some of them in the short film. Yep, we can definitely see at least a couple of Manxes in there. But there's just so much more to be found in there. So much more that hasn't seen the light of day in over 50 years. And, Mike, after talking to you last week and everything, I got inspired. I think we need to open this out to the public. I think we need to start a crowdfunding campaign and let everyone in on it, and everyone who contributes will be privy to the first look at this amazing footage once it gets transferred.
That's a wonderful project. I wholeheartedly and engage with you to accomplish that, because just imagine, I mean, the excitement of fans being able to look at that footage for the very first time.
We're going to get it done. We're going to get it out there. I was just checking my email today, and we talked a little bit about the festivals that we've entered the film in last year. And I just got a second invitation from Milan. There's a big sports film festival that takes place every year in Milan. And it's specifically dedicated to films that are just about sports. Everything from football to surfing to racing and, kayaking. I mean, anything you can think of is in there. It's a huge festival. It takes place in 135 different countries all year long. And then at the end of the year, around November, the best and the biggest winners of all the different countries' festivals all go to the big central one in Milan. And last year, we were invited there. We went there with our short film, just the same version that's on on our website, the little 15-minute film. But since then, we have gotten so much more footage that we could add to it that I think we're going to enter into it again this year and include the Bruce Meyers birthday party and include the footage from the Mint 400 and, everything else that's come in since then.
Wow, that is fantastic. And tell me about the Milan Festival. What kind of an experience was it for you personally?
Oh, my God. Well, first of all, I got to tell you, I've been to many cities in Europe and other countries, and never have I seen more well-dressed people on the streets, in the metros, on the trolleys, at all times, every single day that I have in Milan. It is just the best-dressed city in the world, I think. Literally, everybody who's out during the day, they're dressed to the hilt. There's nobody out there in jeans and T-shirts and hoodies, and it was amazing. The festival itself was great. It's actually held in the big town square there that has the big cathedral and the special church where the famous Da Vinci painting Last Supper hangs. It's just the most beautiful Gothic surroundings for a film festival that I've ever been to. And I met people from Japan. I met people from Norway. I met people from China. They host their own version of the Sports Film Festival, and then the winners all congregate down there. It's a week-long, not just screenings. They fill it with all kinds of special events. For instance, last year, they took us all to their football museum. Italians are very proud of their football team. It's what we call soccer here in America.
Yes.
And they took us to this incredible museum with, it's not just, a bunch of pictures of old teams and winners. No, they have incredible interactive exhibits there. It was just such a captivating and incredible experience. I took so many pictures there. I shot so much video. I can make a separate movie just on Milan experience in itself.
Well, thank you very much. Igor K. of Baja Sun Films telling us about the Milan Film Festival that he's been invited to regarding his Legends of Baja film project. And on the line now, we want to welcome for the very first time Bruce Meyers of Meyer Manx fame, who just turned 92 a couple weeks ago. Bruce, thanks very much for being on Off-Road Live.
Hello.
Hello, Bruce. This is Igor. I want to wish you another second belated birthday, and how good to hear from you again.
Oh, my. You're so nice. Thank you very much, Igor. My wife just told me I was about to do this, and I was on the can. That's all right. Well, I can't help it. How would you like me to start? Would you like me to go jumping off a burning aircraft carrier, or sleeping on a coral atoll, or driving a dune buggy in a race? There's a lot of stories in me, and I don't know where to start. I think I may have told you this story. I'm not sure, but I had been copied. There's a quote in Hot Rod magazine that I was probably the most copied car in history, and that I had much more impact with the car, the Manx dune buggy, around the world than any car really in history, in that it's done so much in the way of making people happy, and the fact that I've been copied like 300 times, and that's all on record, They put me out of business. And that meant that I had a company of 65, 70 people most of the time, with 200 dealers. A normal day of production was 12 or 15 kits a day. In the season before summer, right in the springtime, it blew up to something like 25 kits a day. So I was very, very happy and very successful. Well, you can't change that. Yesterday is dead. There's no way you can change yesterday. The dune buggy is one of the very few cars you can have in a car club, the Manx Club, which now has somewhere over 5,000 members in it, where you made the car yourself. That came out of your own little garage or out of your own hands. So There is the sweetness of that story. Is I gave the world something that they could be proud of, and the club is really that. It's all about pride and bragging and carrying on about my look at my front shock absorbers or something.
It's also all of those thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of wonderful smiles on happy people's faces.
I will second that motion. I mean, I've never seen more happier people than I have the Manx Club people when they're in their buggies and they're riding. Why don't we let one of your guests say it for you? I did shoot some video, did get some well wishers to you for the birthday party, and if you don't mind, I have a little clip queued up here, and I think that really says it all. Give a listen.
Bruce Meyers designed the best car I'll ever own, period. I've owned a few different muscle cars and classics, and none of them will compare to that what that car means to me.
Oh, God, that's pretty sweet of you guys.
I mean, that says it all right there, and that is a sentiment that's seconded by not only the thousands of Manx Club members, but I got to tell you, even the ones that have all those, bad replicas and copies and stuff, the smiles are the same.
That's
the sentiment is the same, and it's so nice to hear that you have come to terms with all that, stuff.
Isn't interesting that recognition that you're bestowing on me is like, and the stories about happiness and love and caring and bragging and all the positives in life, and did something that made a great big difference in people's lives. It happens to be a car, but, it could have been a piece of painting or an art or something. It is an art form, but it's not known. Mostly people think of cars as nuts and bolts. I see them as cars as being a piece of art and nuts and bolts, the engineering side of it.
Yeah, that car really is a work of art. Why don't you tell us about your inspiration for it initially? How did you come to that shape and that design?
When I came out of the Navy in 1946 or whatever it was, I went to art school, Chenard's Arts Institute in Los Angeles, and I took a dead aim at Hollywood. I was going to be a set designer. I walked into the studio of the Union of Set Designers, and I talked to the president, and his whole conversation was, has your father done this? Has your uncle done this? Has your brother? Has your mother? Has your sister? Has anybody you've ever known been in this union? And I said no to everything, and he said, I'm sorry, and he showed me the door. He never looked at my portfolio. See, that nepotism is so tough, and the Hollywood thing, it kind of shook me up, and about the same time my wife left with the kids, and oh God, I was unhappy, and my father said, come up to San Francisco. And all my schooling was in arts, and I draw very well. I used to actually teach figure drawing. Figure drawing is something where you have to have a love affair with all the rhythms of a human body. You can't draw a car with a car cover on it, and you don't draw figures any differently. They have to be nude. And, of course, that leads to falling in love, which I did that really easy. And, beautiful women are pretty hard to ignore. So, you see, I'm very sensitive to that sort of thing, the sculpture figures and all, which I brought to the dune buggy. I spent several years building boat tooling, fiberglass sailboats. That's where I learned all about fiberglass. And I did that for almost 4 years. I built a lot of sailboats. And I saw those dune buggies as they ought to be made out of fiberglass. It makes it far more producible. A dune buggy made by hand, which is a bunch of steel tubing and usually aluminum skin over it, like origami, is that what it's called? It's Japanese paper art. But with fiberglass, you can bring it to the sculptural qualities you might find in nudes. And, a woman's ass is beautiful, and I was a big man on that. So I felt that the rear fender of a dune buggy is very much like a buttocks. So I'm kind of hooked up with a kind of a nonsensical touch of the human form and the cars that I see on the streets. I look at their fenders and all their shapes and all the bits and pieces that make a piece of sculpture, and I brought it to the dune buggy world. So there you are. That's who I am.
Well, you've certainly given the world an iconic shape, and I think it is a testament of how iconic it is, the fact that it was copied so many times.
I'm writing my book that you're going to read soon. I hope I'm done with it the next few weeks. This one's called The Sea and Me. I grew up on the beach. I grew up alongside of all the icons of surfing. The surfing world is just a piece of my time. And I wasn't quite old enough to know Duke Kahanamoku, but I was right after him. When you say surfing, you're talking about my life. My mother was a singer, you know, a very famous one. And the artistic part of me comes out of that genetic. Mom was wonderfully talented. She was painting pictures. My grandpa played the drums and banjo. She was very good at this painting thing and doing figures. And then she painted watercolors later in life and hooked rugs and all this stuff. It was very artistic, and that's where I get all that stuff from, is my mom. And that's the real reason for all of this dune buggy stuff. Is you can thank my mom, I think. I do. My father was an engineer.
Didn't he work for Ford, the original Henry Ford or something like that?
Yeah, he did. My dad was all about racing, and he loved all that stuff, and he knew a lot of names, and he himself was a riding mechanic back in Indianapolis. I said, what the hell did a riding mechanic do? He says, mostly you give the engine a shot of oil because they didn't have an oil pump. You had a hand-operated oil pump for the mechanic to pump on. The other thing was that the back end had a stack of tires because the tires wouldn't go 500 miles, so you had to stop and change wheels and tires. So that's what the riding mechanic did. He spoke of all the names. He knew Henry Ford and Chevrolet and Ralph De Palma and all those kind of guys, and he was a part of all that because he was a nut about cars.
I have to tell you, I think this generation in particular needs to hear stories like it took a year to cross the nation back in the day in a Model T.
Yes, it's wonderful. We have a thing called Sea to Sea Safari from San Diego to North Carolina. And the first time I did that, my car broke in Arizona, and I sent it back home. So I got in another car and rode with this guy. And he's the guy that told me when you can change the perception of a person's thinking, that is a miracle. And that's what Jackie Morrell had done. And he was the guy that he put me onto that idea. And we crossed the country in buggies, and every day, who you ride with? Let me ride with him. Well, I want to ride with you. Everybody trades around all the way across the United States. We start with 12 or 15 cars. We get there with 50 or 60. They come down out everywhere to join us. And
that's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, it's just wonderful. And we get back there, and you have all this love again. Here's all these people. I feel like, I've developed something. I'm surrounded by love. And there's no thinking about yesterday's harmful things. All the badass things that have happened in my life are just wasted time. We all get a shot at bad aspects. And it's just stupid to hang on to thinking of that stuff.
Agreed. Hey, Bruce, when someone is interested in going to your website, what address do they go to on the big wide web?
I don't even know.
If I may step in, I do have some info on you. The web address for the Manx Club is simply www.manxclub.com. That's MANXCLUB.com.
Wonderful.
And, of course, you have a Facebook page, I know, because I follow it always.
God.
That's Facebook/Manx Club. And, wow. How many members you said? You're like over 5,000 members?
Yes, yeah.
And is this all in America, or are you in other countries as well?
No, they're all over here.
On that note, this is Monster Mike on Off-Road Live. We've had Bruce Meyers of the Meyer Manx fame. Thank you very much, and happy birthday. And, of course, the infamous Igor K. of Baja Sun Films. Igor, thank you for putting this special show together.
It was my pleasure, and, what a fun guest, Bruce. Thank you for joining us today. And
thanks a lot, you guys.
This is Monster Mike for the Baja crew on Off-Road Live with our friends, Ram Trucks, Hard Rock, Marlboro, Red Bull, Budweiser, the Baja Racing Hall of Fame, and, of course, Baja Sun Films Project, Legends of Baja. Thank you very much, guys. We're a Fox Sports Radio affiliate every Monday, 4 West, 7 East, off-road.